coming. It's my pleasure to spend a little bit of time with you today, and the purpose of this press conference is to give the advocates of this very important measure an opportunity to speak about the bill and why they believe it is so important for House Bill 827 to pass this year. I am joined by representatives from the Georgia Network to End Sexual Assault, the YWCA of Greater Atlanta, the Gwinnett Sexual Assault and Children Advocacy Center, and the Georgia Coalition Against Domestic Violence. What's very important about this discussion is that we focus on the facts. And the facts are these. This issue is not limited to just one city. This issue is not limited to just one hospital. This issue is not limited to just one law enforcement agency. Instead, what we know is that across the state, there is no single protocol requiring the timely processing of rape kits. That is a fact. We also know that today, rape kits are sitting on shelves, not moving forward to the criminal justice system. That is a fact. And we also know that we do not have a full understanding of the depth of the problem. And that is why it is so important to pass House Bill 827. And let me tell you very quickly what this bill does. This bill, which was drafted with input from the key stakeholders, it was drafted with input from law enforcement, it was drafted with input from care providers, and it was drafted with input from victims' rights advocates. The bill only applies to those victims who want the kits to move forward into the criminal justice system. We were very sensitive to and respected the wishes of those victims to remain anonymous, and there could be very compelling reasons for them to do that. They could be concerned about their safety. And so we wrote a bill that made sense and that respected the rights of women. Thank you. We also took on the problem. So we know that there are incidents and have been incidents where the kits have not been picked up in a timely manner. There, of course, was one prime example here in Atlanta last year with approximately 1,500 kits. So the bill requires law enforcement to pick up the kits in a timely manner, namely within 96 hours, but certainly sooner if that is possible. In addition, the bill then says that all of the kits will go from local law enforcement to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Right now, that is not the official policy of our state, and it needs to be. And here's why. In the past, law enforcement was told that they should only bring kits to the GBI if they had a suspect. Now the rules are different, and now GBI will test all of the kits, and then they can put that into a database, and then through that database they can identify serial rapists. So this bill will ensure the timely processing of rape kits from care providers to local law enforcement to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. That policy does not exist right now. So those who say that we don't need a law, they're wrong. We do. And then finally, what this bill does is it answers the question for us just how bad this problem is, because it is a fact that there is nobody in this Capitol and nobody in the state of Georgia who can, without any doubt, say that there is not a problem and that all kits are on their way forward. That is not true. In fact, if you look at the grant proposal that our state submitted and then received grant dollars for testing, it estimated that there were approximately 1,405 unsubmitted kits across the state for the last year alone. And this was written in 2015. So we know that we have a problem. And let's just take a step back and think about what that is. These are rape kits. And one of the great lessons that I've learned through this process is that the victims go through such an unbelievably horrible experience in terms of being victims of a crime, and then they have to go to a hospital and go through an incredibly invasive process for the rape kit to be taken, for that DNA evidence to be taken. It is shameful for us to then not ensure that each and every one of those moves on and is tested, and that we take whatever action is necessary in terms of criminal justice and prosecution. And the final point that I'll make is this. We also know, because this issue is much bigger than Georgia and it has been happening around the country, we also know that evidence that has been identified by forcing the testing of the kits has led to prosecutions of serial rapists. So we have a public safety interest in making sure that we take action, and it is not something that should wait until next year when we know that we have the answer now. With that, I will turn it over to Helen Robinson, who is here from the YWCA of Greater Atlanta. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We advocate on behalf of women and girls across our state, and I stand here today along with organizations that work directly with the victims of sexual assault, as well as survivors of sexual assault who have traveled here from around the state today in support of House Bill 827. It outlines clear procedures for the timely testing of rape kits going forward, and it requires an accounting of the number of rape kits currently in storage. This is a common sense measure that will help bring justice to victims and protect the public safety. We would like to move forward with a proactive solution to the backlog problem that will also help us prevent future backlogs from occurring. We have momentum, and we have a high level of agreement between all the parties involved in this issue, and we believe that now is the time to act. And we do not care how it moves forward from this point, but we know that now is the time to act. With that, I would like to turn it over to Lisa Anderson, a survivor of sexual assault. Thank you.
Hi, I'm a rape survivor, and I can tell you that I was absolutely terrified to report what had happened to me. And the only reason I finally did was that I found out that this man had raped other women before. That's why this measure is so encouraging. It can protect people, so many people that we know and love, from being raped. It is a horrible experience, and the rape kit itself takes some extraordinary courage, which I personally didn't have. And this is such a service to the public, going through a rape kit and making this evidence available so that we can prevent future instances of sexual violence. And once again, I find it very encouraging that we have so many supporters now. Yes, I am a survivor now.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, Lisa. And now we can open up to questions, and I do want to point out that we have experts here in the room from the Georgia Network in Sexual Assault, as well as others who can answer any factual questions that anybody may have about the rape kit process.
Hey, Lisa, if you could step up and answer a question. As a rape survivor, what do you think about the fact that some of these kits are just sitting on shelves? So when you heard the news about what happened at Grady and these hospitals,
I think it's extraordinary that this would happen. Once again, it takes such incredible courage. It's a repetition basically of the rape, and this is something that can save other people. It's like having a cure for a disease available, something that can prevent horrific violence against women. Because rape happens again. recidivism is the rate of recidivism among rapists is very high, and anything we can do to prevent that is just, it's so important. And we do have, it's a resource that has been given out of true generosity.
Did they catch the person who did this to you?
Yeah, yes.
He prosecuted?
Not criminally. But he no longer has access to people in my position.
Did the rape kits?
I did not do a rape kit.
But did the other ones, did they lead to his arrest or whatever he went through?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite.
Did the rape kits, the testing of the rape kits eventually lead to his being caught? Or?
No. However, when I, after the incident, this was back in, before I became a lawyer, I was in AmeriCorps and I worked for a crime victim services organization. And, I worked with numerous cases where they did do rape kits, and, taking the DNA evidence was, it was an incredible resource. It did lead to many convictions, and also to avoid convicting people falsely. There are people who are put in jail who should not be put in jail, and so it both enables good conviction rates as well as accurate conviction rates.
Thank you. Thanks for telling us your story. Representative Holcomb?
Yes.
What do you think about the fact that Senator Unterman has said that, if there were a problem, she would have heard about it. She would have been the one to address it. And she says there's no backlog. And when we talk to the GBI, they say, in their opinion, there isn't a backlog because of this $2 million federal grant. The issue isn't obviously with them, it's with the hospital. So they weren't the ones to really address it. It's with the hospitals and law enforcement. But what do you think about kind of the personal politics at play here?
I've been very, very purposeful in focusing on the policy, and everything that I have said can be backed up in terms of fact, and it is a fact that no one, to include the GBI, can say with absolute certainty that all of the rape kits that are in the possession of care providers or in the hands of law enforcement have been moved forward. And let me give you a few examples. Just last year, in terms of this not being just a single issue of one hospital, rape kits were found on the shelves in Cobb County. They were found on the shelves in Athens-Clarke County. Other reports have shown that they were on the shelves in Gwinnett County in early 2015, over 100 of them. And so this is an issue that is much broader, and the fact that we would rather, or there are some who would rather not take action and just see if another incident like what happened in Atlanta last summer arises and then we'll take action, I just don't agree with that, because we know that there has been a problem, and we also know that we don't have the full sense of how many kids might be out there. With respect to the grant, my understanding is the grant does not provide for testing for all of the kits that we have in possession. The problem is much, much bigger, I think, than many understand and appreciate.
So would the GBI have enough money if all these kits came to them? Would the GBI have enough funding to do proper testing?
Well, that's a great question. And with the bill, which I think was done in a very common sense manner, it requires GBI to provide a report at the end of the year stating the number of kits that they have tested and the number of kits that remain untested. By actually doing it this way, as a process that ensures, because of the legal requirement, that all kits be moved forward, we would then be in a position as a state to request grant dollars, which exist, because we can say this is the exact scope of the problem, and then these are the resources that we need to clear the problem. And so those are very, very compelling reasons that we need to take action and not just wait and table this until next year or a year after that, because we already know what the answers are.
One follow-up to, you mentioned there were some in Cobb County on the shelves and Atlas Park County. Were those in hospitals or were those in law?
Those are in law enforcement, which shows that it's not just a hospital issue. And I know of at least one example for one of the counties that I represent where the hospital has them on its shelves and they have not moved. And for obvious reasons, they don't want to come forward and be public about it. But I've been told this, and they said, we really want this bill because then it's clear what the legal requirements are and the time frames by which the kits need to be processed. There's no ambiguity. We are living with a system of ambiguity right now. Any other questions? All right, thank you all very much.